Hey everyone, it's Jason. Welcome to an unboxing for War for Chicken Island. This is a chicken skirmish battle game. So very area control, fighting armies. Kind of a little bit of goofy premise, but still I think a little bit more, I want to say family friendly. Might not be the right term, but I think like easier to take in than maybe like a typical skirmish game. You might think of like Warhammer, where you see people have like thousands of armies of characters. So this is also really cool because it is part of Draco with Draco Studios and Detestable Games, who do the other unboxings I've done as well for stuff like Dodo's Riding Dinos, TV Chowdown. So I have lots of different crossover stuff, which we'll get into towards the end of the video. I'm going to find a little picture on the inside. So we're going to look at some of the resources and components first, and then we'll jump into the rules. So everything here, we're going to have board one. It's going to show a couple different things. So we're going to have, there's 4 different colors. So we have black, which kind of has a claw on it, blue, which has an egg, red, which has a skull, and yellow, which has a feather. Each one will get a couple of different chicken units, which will have different stats on them. And we'll look at those a little bit more. Then we're going to have resources up in the top corner. All the chickens are the exact same for each color. We have the resources which are the same for each. They're generalized resources, but it's the same. So there's 36, 12 of each. Same thing, we're going to have 2 shields on each board. Again, they're not necessarily per player. It's just how they spread them out. They have a base for each player, which is not color-coded. It just goes for either one. If we flip to the other side, chickens are black on the back, so they're all different color-coded on the back, so you can tell which ones they are. The bases are all blank on the back. And now these tiles here, which are your neutral or lava tiles. Either neutral or, flip to back to the other side, they have lava. So these just help fill out your board that you're playing on, so the area you're trying to conquest. Speaking of that, we have some various tiles to use. So there are some setups in the book to tell you how to set the tiles up to begin with. They're dual-sided, but each side has the exact same information on them. And the different elements don't have anything to do. So like grass doesn't do anything different than the desert. At least as of that I know of. They definitely could, being as how they have different borders on them, like yellow. I think it's just their starting territory is what it is. So it's yellow players start in the grassy area. Black players start here. Blue starts there. You know, except for it's not a red, so that doesn't necessarily make sense. But I think it's just to connect each 4 areas. But it's kind of neat because there are different setup for terrain since there are all these hexes. You can set them up in different styles each time you play the game. So it does kind of change how the board could be set up. So that's pretty cool. And then these tiles can go on top of them, or they can go like maybe in between them. And they can flip over. They can add some extra spaces in there. Then the other resources we're going to get are a bunch. I'm going to zoom my camera down a bit for this. We're going to get a bunch of dice. So each player will have 4 different dice. So 4 for each color. 5 for each color. I'm missing a red one. My bad. And these will determine what you get to do on your turn. They'll have various symbols on there. And we're going to go through the rules and look at that as well. I just want to show up all the different components that are in the box first. Then we are going to get these other tokens, which are called humiliation tokens. And these are what you're trying to give to other players. And you have 3 each, and once another player has 3 of your tokens, or there's a different, or each player has 1 of yours, that's how you win the game. Basically, you're trying to defeat your opponent's leaders to get those. Then we're going to have a giant stack of cards. Either have leaders, or it's going to have machines that we can build. These are various things that go around the board to try and win the game. And then the other big mechanic are scroll cards, which come in 3 different types. Catastrophe, magic, which do get various effects, and then strategies. But they all have the same back, so you don't know which one we're going to get. So these are different cards you're going to play throughout the game. And then we have a buttload of miniatures. So, and we'll look at these also as we get to them. We'll look at them when I look at the cards for each character. But if I pop this off, we're going to have some miniatures for each of those different machines, as well as for each leader on the board. So very cool. Alright, so now we kind of want to look at what the game is and what it does. Before we start looking at each individual card. So I'm going to skip right over to the how to play part, and then we'll look at this setup really quick. This isn't going to be a full how to play, but enough you can get the idea of what the game does. So the objective, to win, place your humiliation tags on the banner of the other player. By attacking, defeating their leader in combat, a player wins as soon as they place the number of humiliations listed below. For 1 or 2 players, 2 on the enemy batters, 3 or 4, 1 tag on 2 different enemy batters. So yeah, just kind of trying to spread them out. So the game overview. Basically, players command their chicken armies in an attempt to battle and humiliate other chicken leaders. To do so, they must move into enemy territory with their leader, chickens, or the machines they build. Keep in mind that war started due to the limited space on the island. Therefore, building a large army is not as effective or important as moving and attacking early. This is what does make it different in some skirmish games, because some skirmishes, as mentioned, Warhammer, see people that have like miniature armies that are like 20, 30, 50 different miniatures, and this is not the point of that. Unlike most skirmish games, there's no player elimination here, and you roll dice before the attacks are even declared. Magic, the demand mainly comes from magic and strategy cards behind a scroll, which can be played even by those who are not involved in combat to help the attacker or defender. Chicken machines are destroyed and retrieved and rebuilt all the time, even sporadic catastrophes on the island itself. So in order to claim victory, you must defeat and humiliate other leaders in combat to become the ruler of the island. Yeah, so then when we start the game up, basically it's like this. Here's some different ways to build the map. So 2-player, 3-player, and then 4-player. You see like the bases are off to the side. They're inside next to one of the 4 colors. The neutral tiles, there's a lava tile. And as you play the game, you've played it a couple of times, you can go ahead and build your stuff kind of however you want. So you can do it in different styles. Yeah, then each player is basically going to get their leader card, showing here. There are 3 humiliation tokens, which is spot on the little board for them. They're going to get 3 resources, which says randomly shuffle, which I think is really weird to randomly shuffle a bunch of tokens. So if you have like a little baggie or something to put them in, that's probably for the best. You roll your dice, you put them on your board, and then you get 3 scroll tokens. And then each player stacks all their chickens on their base, and then their leader on top. And this is how you start the game off. So it starts with a little small play area. And then during your turn, we have a couple of things we can do. So turn sequence, first of all, 3 optional steps. That's the big keyword. These are optional. You do not have to do these if you don't feel like it. Roll your dice. So collect any of your spent dice and add any amount of dice to your choice from your banner, or assign units to roll at once. So your dice here, again, are going to tell you what action you can do on a turn. So maybe, like, just as an example, if blue here has 3 attack ones, maybe they don't need 3 attack dice, and they'd like something to help move or build, or these are damage boosts, like 2 extra attack. But if they'd like to get something like one of the move and attack ones instead, they could pick up one of these and re-roll them. So they have some different options there. So after your first roll, you may choose to spend any 2 resources on your banner to gain a second roll. So you start with 3 resources, but you will gain more over time. So you can always re-roll a second time, kind of like you think like Yahtzee. In step 2, you take action. You have 1 free action, and then every turn you can spend your dice on your banner to perform additional actions. And then 3, you draw your scrolls. At the end of your turn, drop the 2 scrolls from the scroll deck. So there's really no reason, not to say not a reason to play them, but like don't feel like, oh no, I gotta do this action or do this specific thing to get them. You're gonna gain some every turn. So your actions are basically four actions. Again, you can do one of these for free. Build, enhance your army, using chickens as pilots and spending resources to build a machine from the lineup into your territory tile. Move. Most units must move to the island board in order to reach their target to attack its state potential. There might be long-range attackers. Attack. Once the target is within the reach, you can engage in combat. If the attack succeeds against your enemy leader, you place a humiliation token on their banner. If you succeed in an attack but the target is annihilated, destroy it. Don't place the humiliation tag. If the attack fails, nothing happens. So the only downside to attacking is basically you lost your turn because you didn't do anything. That action, and if any scroll cards were played, they're lost. Or retrieve ×2. Retrieve 2 resources from the common supply to your banner. Cover 2 of your destroyed chickens or 1 of each, and this will help you replenish your stuff. So your chickens again help provide barriers to protect your leader, or they also help you build your machines, and then resources help you do other stuff. Then with dice action. So after your free action, you can do stuff with your dice. So if you do the sword chicken foot, this will allow you to attack or remove one or the other. If you have the one with a double chicken on it, this will let you do a retrieve ×2. So basically just letting you redo the same stuff you could have done before. And then the third one is stars, which this plays again, adds in a little Yahtzee element. So as you have stars, you can use these stars as many times as you have them. So 1 star lets you shuffle the machine lineup into the deck and reveal 4 new cards. 2, 1 star also if you draw a skull and discard 1. So maybe if you have too many attack cards or too many defense cards or something that doesn't work for your position. If you just play two stars and you draw a scroll. 3, draw a scroll, recover your destroyed chickens, and retrieve 9 resources until you have 9. 4, place a shield on any unit, and 5, remove any humiliation tag from your banner. So that last one is really great. You're starting to lose. But the idea is to remember, though, you only have 5 dice. So you might have to keep rolling multiple times, multiple turns, to try and get 5 star. It might be great, but it also means if on my banner, so if I pop out one of these quick, I'm just going to kind of give an example here. So if on my turn, let's say I already have, where's a second star? I have 2 stars and I really need to, and I had 3 other dice. Let's say I had a chicken dice and I had 2 other ones I spent. So on my turn, I could opt to pick this up to try and roll for that. Roll for another star. I did not get one. Therefore, how many times am I going to have to wait till I get that remove a token that I might really need? Or if I want to place a shield, or even if I want to do the big one, the 3, which is draw a scroll and do the other stuff. But I mean, while I'm waiting even for that third one, that's 2 actions I don't get to take every turn. Because at the beginning of your turn, you get to re-roll all the dice anyhow. It's not saying you have to spend them every turn, because I could even have move actions or retrieve actions I might want to save for later turns. But it does mean that the longer I wait, I keep stuff on there hoping to get them stars. So it's 3 rolls, 4 rolls. It took me 4 rolls to get 2 of them. So now not even sitting there is do I wait 1 more to get that annihilation token. So you can see how that can kind of saving up for the more powerful effects or things you might need to do. Can definitely hinder your turn. Now, there's probably other cards and scrolls in the game that affect that as well. So just keep that in mind. We'll look at them when we get there. Alright, so then up next, one of the big things is building a machine. And I'm not going to jump into too much of this overall, but basically, I'm not going to read through all of this. But basically what happens is each machine has a resource cost on the side here, showing 2 chickens and 3 wood to build a wood golem. Take them 2 chickens, they go underneath, that is now the pilot. So now those are no longer considered chickens for anything that represents chickens, but they show that they're running that machine, and then when you move the machine around the board, you use the machine stats instead of the chicken stats. So basically you're transferring your multiples of your chickens into a bigger unit that has more attack and movement power, or defense. But yeah, then you can go ahead and do that stuff. So if the machine is destroyed, the pilots, which are your chickens underneath, are destroyed as well and placed next to your banner. Destroyed pilots and the chickens can be recovered with the retrieve action. So at some point, you might not even need to worry about retrieving chickens because you might have enough alive or underneath stuff. So very good. So now here's another line I want to put in here. The lineup must always have 4 machines available at a time. If the machine deck depletes, shuffle the discard pile to form a new machine. So yeah, we're always going to have 4 available, but what might end up happening, though, is at some point, we're going to have this might happen. There are no more miniatures available than supply for it. Try destroying a machine with the same name. So there are only so many models out there of each different type, and there are so many machine cards. There are more machine cards than there are miniatures. So that machine card might be in the lineup, but you might not be able to build it because there is no miniature. That is one of the other reasons why you can pay 1 star to shuffle the machine lineup back into the deck and draw 4 new cards, because maybe there's 2 or 3 of them that you can't use, so you have to look for one that you can afford. Movement is pretty simple. No machine of yours or enemies may enter your base tile, only your chickens and leaders. Moving through your units, you can move through your own units as long as you don't end on the same turn, but you cannot move through another of an opponent's thing. So the opponent could form a wall between where they want you to go. And then there's lava hexes, which, while unusual, you can move units into adjacent lava hexes. Most units standing or passing through lavas immediately lose their shield tokens, are destroyed. Leaders are not destroyed, but they lose all their shield tokens. So either, for some odd reason, I can't think of why you would move your own unit into it, but you could. Otherwise, somebody else could maybe push your unit into it. Might happen as well. Then the sea hexes. Moving outside the island is never allowed unless an ability enables it. Units that move onto the sea hexes must always finish their movement adjacent to at least 1 territory tile so that they can still be attacked. So you can't move like way out over here. You have to stay next to it so someone can at least attack you. Alright, another big thing in the game is banding. So this one's a little bit trickier concept, I think, sometimes to grasp. Units with the banding icon, which like multiple hexes stacked on, they all belong to the same thing, maybe stacked together on the same hex. Chicken tokens done by stacking on top of each other. With machines, it's hard to stack miniatures. Instead, stack all the machine cards in a pile and use a single machine on the top. All the pilots and or chickens to represent the stack. Place all their miniatures on the stack. So if I want to have like 2 of the wood golems, I pick one of them to be on top, the other one just goes on the card. A build machine. Banding hexes on your territory can be occupied by the banded stacks that are available. So basically what this means, just as a quick thing here, is if I have a chicken here and I have another one, I want to build something on top of this. So I got to build into one of these spaces. But what banding's saying, if I'm banding a machine or a pile of chickens onto this, so like if I have 2 chickens out and I want to band them together, I can band them onto a tile. I don't have to take these 2 and move them to an empty space. That's all that's saying. It's just a weird way to word that. While moving multiple hexes to the back, the banded stacks can change. This is where it gets a little confusing. You change many either by leaving or adding banding using the hexes they move through. If they move in through your units, you may stop in a hex with another banding, or yours and combine them. When the banding attacks or attacks, your hacker keys which specific units are attacking or being attacked. So kind of what this is saying here, and this is again why this ability gets a little bit confusing. So if I have these 2 guys over here and they're banding and I move them, I can stack them on top of this guy and I'll basically pick this guy up and keep moving. So I get an extra one. Vice versa, I can have these guys, I can move here, I can drop this guy off there and then keep moving, and now he can go off and do his own thing or provide a thing. So you could have a bunch of guys summoned all right next to your base, and then you could slowly drop them off and create a wall. Or you can pick them all up and have a bigger unit to fight with. Pilot tokens do not count as banding effects for the purpose of all leaders. Yeah, so basically when they stack on top of each other is using a single miniature. Blah, blah, blah. When taking a pilot to build a machine, there's any chickens from that banded stack as well. Yeah, so when they're being attacked, they have to choose which one. So if someone's attacking this stack, generally say whichever one's on the top is how I would probably play it. That's the one being attacked. So they'd have to defeat this guy. Oh, they defeated him. Now they still have to defeat the other one. They're not fighting it as a giant group, like in and of itself, but the fact is it gets all my guys together, and they have to fight one at a time to get rid of him, to get him out of the way. very, very simple there. Combat. Combat has a couple of interesting things. So the attacker declares which unit is being attacked and which enemy is defending. Combat between a single attacker and a single defender in adjacent hex. Attacker spends any amount of dice on their banner with the strength bonus results and place them on the attacker card or token. Then the attacker plays any number of scroll cards face down going clockwise. And then I'll kind of go over the rest of it. So we do have some different symbols. So your base chicken leaders. Your leaders and chickens get +2 armor bonus when standing on your base tile. So if we look at our base there, it does have a little 2 defense. So keeping your guys back to help save there. Shields prevent the leader from receiving a humiliation tag and a unit from being destroyed in combat or by catastrophe. On a successful attack, remove 1 shield token from the defender instead. From the shield of the supply, you can have multiple shields. So that's why getting them 4 stars with a shield is very helpful. You spend 4 to get a shield to prevent getting humiliation tag rather than spending 5 stars to get rid of one. Permanent strength for bonus. Place this guy in a unit and remains on that card or token until the unit is destroyed and has 1 strength. You may opt to remove it. And they have temporary 2 and 3 strength bonus. So yeah, if we look at these guys, we have some of those. So we have 3, which has a plus on it. And then a 2 that has a plus on it, and a 1 that has a plus but has a down arrow. So you can put this on the guy and give him a permanent bonus. But again, like the stars, it stays out and it reduces your rolls or extra dice for available actions. But you can always pick it up and remove it at any time. The 2 and 3 just give the action for the turn. So if I rolled my dice this turn, and I had a +2 and a +1 were sitting on there during combat, I could give both of these, for combat, I could give both of these to my units to give them a +2 for the turn. Or sorry, I could give this +1 and +2 during the turn. So I could definitely build them up. Then we have range. If you have a range, X on its ability may perform a ranged attack. Action, choosing enemy is up to X hexes away in any direction, not necessarily a straight line. Ignores any units between the attacker and the defender, as well as any terrain between them. Cool. So this is basically how, sort of showing how range works. You can shoot over lava, because basically you can kind of go around as well. For moving range, you can't walk over there, but you have to go through this guy. So combat, I'm just do this. I love this little image of how combat works. This is, I'm not going to read all this stuff, but the basic gist of it is, Heidi decides she's going to attack Gabo as the leader. She declares her attack, gives him both 2+ dice and add 4 to her strength, and then plays 1 scroll card. Gabo decides not to play any cards, so either he thinks he's strong enough because his leader's stronger, or he, as resigned, he knows he's going to lose and doesn't want to, oh, sure, he has 4 extra attack, I'm not going to bother to waste cards. Play continues around the table. The third player, Edgar, plays 2 face-down cards. So this is the neat mechanic of the game. He plays his cards down. So it says, when play comes back to her, Heidi adds another card. So now she's added 2 scroll cards. Gabo decides not to play another card. And neither does Edgar. So now all players have passed and haven't done anything else. You start going through. So you start with the defender. So there's all these face-down cards. So Heidi knows that her 2 arts are going to boost her up. Edgar played 2 more, which he can now put on either player. So he can either help Heidi win, or he can help Gabo win. And the thing is, depending on what order they're in, whether, because it could have been, the turn order could have been Heidi, Edgar, then Gabo, and he might have opted not to play cards the first time just because he didn't know what Edgar was going to do. But then there's also that fact of if it went that order and Gabo passed and then Heidi passed as well, it doesn't go back to Edgar because he already passed once. So he might end up getting skipped if he's in between them. So it's kind of a little bit of strategy there. Yeah, so what basically happens is it starts with the defender. So the attacker, you already know what the attacker's bonuses are. On the dice, you don't know what their scrolls are, but they gotta keep that information hidden. So that way all the other players that played cards have to play before they even know what the attacker has. So it gives the attacker that little bit of extra endgame advantage, because the other people don't get to see what all the attacker has and then decide which side to help. They have to decide beforehand. So Gabo goes first, doesn't play anything. Nika Edgar reveals his card, showing he's added to Gabo's armor. He didn't want Heidi to give out a humiliation tag and get one step closer, so he gives her 2. Heidi finally revealed a card. One is a strategy card, which will remain in play after the combat. Total number value is 15 strength, and Gabo's armor is 15. Heidi's attack was a success. She grabs the humiliation tag and places it on his battle. So, I ended up giving him an extra 2. Gets a strategy card to use later, so it was enough to be able to stop his leader for a turn. So in the end, Edgar's cards did not help, so he lost it. But it did cost Heidi essentially 4 cards for that chance to win. And Gabo didn't play anything, so he gets humiliation tag, but now he has scrolls to play for later turns. So it's a really neat idea. So we're going to go over the card types and stuff in the next video. I just want to kind of go through the rules, but we have the leaders, which have their various stats on them. They usually have special abilities. Machines, which you build, have to have at least 1 pilot. Only soldier machines have the banding, though. There are different types of machines indicated by their names. Some strategy cards affect certain machines. The base game includes soldiers, golems, battle cards, cannons, and towers, but you may find other types in promos and expansions, such as mecha chickens. For the effect purposes, any non-leader card counts as a machine, as a unit, even if they don't look like a machine. So basically, you have leaders, which are your miniatures. Any other miniature is now a machine, and then you have your chickens, which are the tokens. And then we have scroll cards, which are basically in between 3 different types. Magic cards, which are one-time effects, and then discarded, usually. Something might say something else. Strategy cards affect how your army behaves during the game. These cards have a continuous effect while player effects can be activated by spending stars. Each player can have up to 3 active strategies at a time. So it gives you there. So you get those. And then the third type are catastrophe cards. When you draw a catastrophe card, you must immediately reveal it and resolve it. If you manage to draw more than 1 at a time, reveal all of them and choose an order which to resolve them. Once all catastrophe resolve, all players with more than 9 cards in hand must choose and discard cards until they have exactly 9. So basically, yeah, they just come and just mess with the game. There's only 4 of them, so they're not going to get drawn super often. Card limit, there's no hand size. However, after catastrophe, you have to discard down to 9. Resource battery, again, with the 9 resources, so 9's the magical number. And you can have 9, there's 3 different resources. You have 3 of each, or you could have 9 of one. So it doesn't matter. Chickens, each have a different color, each has 6. Machines, are limited to the number of pilot tokens. So basically, if I have 6 chickens and each one has 1 pilot, I could have 6 machines, but now I have no chickens on the board. If I have 3 of them that have 2 pilots, and again, I have no chickens on the board. So it's kind of like you have a couple of weak guys and a couple of strong guys, all strong guys. You know, strategies, no more than 3 shields, any amount of shields. If there are no more shields in the supply, you can't place anymore until something's discarded. And humiliation, you have 3 of them. Your band can hold up to 3 enemy tags and up to 2 identical from the same enemy. So even in the games where you only have to give if you're playing a 3 or 4 player game where you have to give 2 different enemies a tag each, you could give one of them 2. And the idea of like, then if they remove one, you know, then they still have one of yours on there. But also remember though, if you're playing a 3 player game, if you put 2 on one, that leaves you with only 1 left to put on another player, which is all you need to do to win the game. But it also means that you know, gotta watch who you're attacking. That also blocks some of the other players. Then there's also a couple of different modes. There's team player mode, up to 4 players, 2 versus 2. Very simple. There's capture the flag. We'll look at some more of these in the next video. Just some different other options. We have expert mode. Features most of the design's original rules. Recommended for experienced skirmish players with some War for Chicken Island game under their belt who are looking for a more challenging, extensive match. You have to calculate your dice and actions as your current and next turns in addition to managing your scrolls and resources wisely. So this is just going to make it a little bit more difficult. Creature Kingdoms, War for Chicken Island, Dodos Riding Dinos, and Kiwi Chowdown are great. Part of a greater universe, miniatures can be merged and combined with other Creature Kingdom games with promo cards, including other games and crossover packs, which at the end of the next video, we'll look at a couple of them that I have. Pelegigados. Players use only chickens and their leaders without machines, so a little bit different mode there. There's also some achievements you can do. if you want some extra fun things there. And then creating your own island just kind of mentions different ways to do that. And then the final thing is there's a solo mode, which I am not going to go over. It's just more or less probably playing against usually if this is, you have a solo card, it's going to kind of explain what your AI opponent does in the game. So yeah, in this mode, you play as a real chicken island against the game itself called Challenger, defined by the dice. Place a medication on the challenger bag to win. If the challenger places a medication on your bag, you lose. Yeah, so some interesting stuff there, some different setup. You're playing against some AI stuff. There's also a hard mode for that as well. Just nice to know it's in there if that's something you're interested in. And then a glossary for a lot of the different stuff, plus an FAQ. Alright, that is War for Chicken Island. That was our rules and our tokens overview. Come back for part 2. We're going to actually go over and look at all the cards. It just takes a little while to do that. And I try to make this a little bit shorter video. Or for people that just wanted to jump into the cards, you know, they didn't have to hopefully watch all this. Alright, see you guys there. Bye.